We have to be constantly in contact with lost people, or we will never reach them with the gospel of Jesus Christ. But what is he saying here? Be not conformed to this world. He's not talking about lost humanity here. The Greek word that is translated conformed refers to an outward expression that does not reflect what is within. It's the idea of putting on an act. The verb is passive, and it is also in the imperative. Imperative means that it is a command, not an option for us to consider. God is commanding us, be not conformed to this world. And then passive means we allow it to be done to us. So here in this verse, we see that God is commanding us not to allow the world to influence us and to shape us. By the way, when you get rid of God, you can have no morality. And that's what we have done in the United States of America. We have excluded God out of our schools. We have excluded God out of our culture. And thus, we no longer have morality, morals here in the United States. Everybody does that which is right in their own eyes, which would be anarchy. That's what we have inherited in the United States of America. And consequently, people look at each other and they will say, well, I don't agree with you, but you're not necessarily wrong. You may be right and I may be right, and we all can just choose whatever we want to believe, and there's no absolutes. But we as Christians are not to embrace that value system around us, but rather we are to stand on the absolute truth of God's Word. And by the way, that will not always be a popular stand in our culture today. People will look at you like you're crazy. People will look at you like you're a Jesus freak, or what in the world? Are you one of those Bible thumpers? Where do you get off telling me that there are absolutes? Well, because God has defined those absolutes in His Word. James 4 and verse 4 says, ye adulterers and adulteresses. Now, he's not talking about physical adultery here, but spiritual adultery. Know ye not that the friendship of the world is enmity with God? Whosoever therefore will be friend of the world is the enemy of God. Spiritual growth means you just can't go with the flow. Spiritual growth begins with us making a choice to be different than the world around us. I mentioned that verb conformed is passive, which means don't let the world do that to you. Satan uses the influence and the pressure of the world around us to stunt our spiritual growth.